Hello and welcome to today's video, and today we're going to be talking about VHS and how things have changed over the years and how VHS as we remember it may not be quite 100% accurate. So at the moment I'm recording this on my Panasonic M7 camera, which is a full-size VHS camera dating from around 1987. There will be coming up in this video some comparison clips between the Panasonic and also a modern smartphone. Obviously not a fair direct comparison, but I just really want to highlight how far to a certain extent things have come, but also with the proper lighting, just how capable the Panasonic VHS Camcorder, the M7, still is. Now, there is a popular, I think it's an Instagram filter or some filter somewhere that seems to emulate VHS. It certainly seems to emulate some of the muddier colours, but what it doesn't seem to emulate is the fact that there isn't always a constant noise bar at the bottom of a VHS recording. You will find that if you have a good quality cassette and a good quality machine that's in good order with heads which are not completely trashed, that the recording you will get will be absolutely fine. It will be a lowish resolution. We're talking 240p, which is, I don't know, it's about 240 by 352 in old money. But if we take the venerable CRT television set, of which I have an example here, it's my Bang & Olufsen 7702, which is a 22-inch set. It uses a Mullard A56 540X tube, which for the time was a very good CRT. Maximum resolution on this, if you feed in RGB into the SCART socket, you can probably get an 800 by 600 display. Typically, if we're going by horizontal lines, you're looking at a 625 line horizontal resolution, which is the standard resolution for both PAL and CCAM. But also excellent colour reproduction. So typical resolution, I'd say probably 640 by 480, which is probably where the 480p comes from, if I remember rightly. So 240p VHS, 480p for standard television. Now, one thing that I've noticed is pre-recorded VHS cassettes. Here I have an example of Dirty Dancing that was taken from, or recorded in 1997. The later cassettes didn't seem to be as good quality as the earlier cassettes, certainly the recordings. Now, typically you would have, in a large warehouse, a large selection of high-end VHS recorders, which would be recording these sometimes at like a high speed. So the quality that you get is perhaps not quite the best, quite not as good as it could be. You do find, if I've got one here, which I'm not sure I have actually, I don't immediately have one to hand, but certainly a lot of the earlier recordings from the early 80s did seem to be, the earlier pre-recordeds, did seem to be higher quality and more acceptable. And this obviously isn't taken into account Betamax, which is another kettle of fish again. It's very similar to VHS. Uses the same technology, it's just some of the frequencies are different and you've got a different cassette shell size. Tape speed is slightly slower, if I recall, than VHS, but it does have certainly higher frequencies for colour and a higher frequency for general recording. So there is a slight increase in resolution and slightly better colours. I'll be honest, it's probably my eyesight going. As I get older, I'm beginning to see the difference less and less, but you can still see that there is some difference. As we move on through VHS, there was the JVC HQ standard. It did go some way to address some of the earlier criticisms of VHS and did actually produce a fairly acceptable picture. When you're playing it back on a device such as a CRT, the picture was perfectly acceptable for the CRT. However, with the advent of LCD flat panel TVs, OLED TVs, etc., the quality is not quite as good as you remember. There are some reasons behind that. LCDs were notoriously bad at differing resolutions. CRTs would accept any sort of resolution and would be able to generally reproduce that resolution without issue. If you remember, sort of in the early 2000s, when we typically had CRT computer monitors, when you went over to the luxury of an LCD screen, luxury being used in the sense of you had a bit more desk space, you did find that your old 640 by 480 resolution games didn't look quite as good as they did on a CRT. And that's because certainly LCDs at the time had what we call native resolutions. So they would work very well in 1 or 2 resolutions, but not across a wide spectrum of resolutions that a CRT would just very happily reproduce without any issue. As time has gone on, things have got better, so certainly more modern high-end 4K sets will produce a VHS type resolution with reasonable quality. But certainly those early LCD sets, when you were playing back a VHS tape on those, it really did look terrible. And that wasn't so much the technology playing back the cassette, it was more the technology that you were viewing it on. If you view the same cassette on a CRT, it would have been more than acceptable, you would have been more than happy with it. But you know, as time has gone on, things got better. DVDs were really sort of the ultimate development. But let's take a look at some of the clips that I took on this camera. These were mainly outdoor clips, and we're going to be comparing them with a modern smartphone, in this case a Huawei P20 Pro. I would like to get a modern high-end camera, but at the moment they are a little bit expensive, and you know, my channel hasn't sort of grown enough for me to be able to warrant purchasing such equipment. But let's see what it looks like anyway. So let's take a look at what we have here. So on the left we've got a horse in VHS resolution, and on the right we've got the Huawei taking photo and clip of the same horse. You will notice that certainly the Huawei colours are slightly better, in fact a lot better, and also the resolution is higher. But on a CRT it's not actually that bad, it's not bad at all. Moving on to the next clip, we have a rather nice little flower. To the left again we have VHS, and to the right we've got the Huawei. And yeah, again, as you would expect, the Huawei is doing pretty well, but the VHS camera is not actually giving that bad an account of itself. Certainly for the limitations of resolution, the actual physical optical lens is doing a damn good job. Our next clip is just a bit of a zoom in with the video camera. I'd say that the actual video camera, because it does have an actual optical zoom, is doing slightly better. But the Huawei's given a pretty good account of itself and does seem to win on resolution. All in all, not bad at all for both. So, we've taken a look at the clips, and we're now going to finish the video for now. This was really just a little insight and a little dive into how VHS may not be quite as bad as we remember it. And hopefully giving you a little bit of an insight into why, you know, you may remember it less favourably than you initially sort of thought. Anyway, I'd like to thank you very much for watching. If you have found this video interesting, don't forget to hit the like button. Don't forget to consider subscribing. In fact, do subscribe, it does help. And again, I will see you on the next one. Thanks for watching. See you soon.